For decades, a quiet but critical flow of equipment has connected the developed and the developing worlds. In the shadows of headline grabbing trade deals and climate summits, millions of items of used construction and demolition machinery have moved from Europe, the US, and Australasia to parts of Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. These machines, often considered outdated or too emission heavy for Western markets and tastes, are given second lives in countries where the environmental regulations are looser, the economic constraints are tighter, and the need for affordable equipment is insatiable. But this used equipment pipeline, the lifeline that has helped build roads, bridges, homes, and infrastructure in the developing world, is in danger of drying up. As the West accelerates its shift to electric and hydrogen powered machines, the consequences will ripple far beyond their own borders. While headlines celebrate zero emission fleets and futuristic machines, few are asking what happens when there's no longer a surplus of diesel powered equipment to pass along. Fewer still are examining what happens when developing nations are expected to go green without the infrastructure, investment, or political leverage to do so. The environmental transition could be an economic reckoning. Used equipment sales have long been the foundation of affordability and accessibility in lower income regions. OEMs in the West sell or trade in older machines. Dealers refurbish and export them. End users in developing countries, contractors, municipalities, family businesses, buy them at a fraction of the cost of new equipment. The system works because it's mutually beneficial. Western nations reduce their equipment stockpiles, meet stricter emissions rules, and generate revenue. Developing countries, meanwhile, acquire proven, durable machines that can operate in harsh environments without requiring cutting edge parts or high level diagnostic tools. But as diesel is phased out and as more machines are built without combustion engines altogether, the inventory of exportable second-hand equipment is likely to collapse. There is no electric or hydrogen machine life cycle yet. There is no 15-year-old battery powered excavator ready for resale. The global second-hand market, worth billions, is walking blindly toward a dead end. In the West, the move to electric and hydrogen is framed as inevitable. Politicians pledge carbon neutrality, cities declare climate emergencies, manufacturers launch glossy green product lines with aggressive timelines. Infrastructure, though under pressure, is slowly catching up. But in many parts of the developing world, these technologies are still impractical and beyond aspirational. Electric machines require reliable electricity, but in parts of sub Saharan Africa, 600 million people still lack access to reliable electrical power. Blackouts are frequent. Rural construction sites can't support overnight charging or multi megawatt battery banks. Hydrogen machines require refueling infrastructure that doesn't currently exist. Hydrogen is complex to produce, expensive to store, and potentially dangerous to transport. Even the UK, Germany, and the US are struggling to build scalable hydrogen networks. Expecting Kenya, Bangladesh, or Bolivia to do so in parallel is unreasonable. Repair and maintenance for clean machines requires diagnostic technology, specialized technicians, and OEM support. Most developing nations don't have service centers equipped to handle lithium ion faults, inverter failures, or hydrogen leaks. This isn't just a technology gap, it's a technology chasm. What can emerge is a world divided not just by wealth, but by machine and by fuel. On one side, clean, connected, highly advanced machinery operated in regulatory rich nations, supported by charging networks, remote diagnostics, and robust supply chains. On the other, a growing void where used machines disappear, new ones are unaffordable, and legacy equipment becomes harder and harder to maintain. This two-tier system risks deepening inequality in global development. Without access to affordable diesel equipment and without viable alternatives, developing nations could see progress stall. Infrastructure projects may be delayed or abandoned. Local businesses could fold. Municipal services like waste management or road maintenance could suffer. In effect, the West will have pulled up the ladder that it once climbed. It's ironic. Advocates of clean energy often speak in glowing terms about the circular economy: repair, reuse, repurpose, recycle. But the global trade in used diesel machines is arguably one of the most effective examples of that principle in practice. Machines are used intensively in high income countries. Then they're refurbished and sold to mid or low income buyers. Then they're used for years, sometimes decades, often undergoing multiple life extensions. And then they're stripped apart or rebuilt again. That is circularity. It's not glamorous, but it works. And it diverts machines from landfill, stretches capital investment, and supports local economies. The shift to electric and hydrogen threatens to break this cycle. Batteries degrade faster than diesel engines. Software licenses may expire. Proprietary components may not be available in the global south. And complex high voltage systems may be deemed too dangerous to repair locally. What happens to an electric excavator with a dead battery in Cameroon or a hydrogen powered loader in rural India when the fuel cell fails? If the answer is scrap it, then the circular economy has failed its most basic and its most crucial test. Some Western countries are already debating whether continued export of older diesel machines could be curtailed altogether. From a climate standpoint, it makes sense. Why reduce emissions at home only to export them abroad? But this does raise serious ethical questions. Developing nations didn't create the climate crisis, at least they didn't do it alone. They're still climbing the economic ladder. Denying them the tools that built the modern world without offering affordable alternatives smacks of environmental hypocrisy. If Western governments want to restrict diesel exports, they must surely accompany those restrictions with support, funding, training, infrastructure, and access to new equipment at fair prices. Otherwise, they're simply outsourcing the consequences of their own success. There is a better path, one that acknowledges both environmental urgency and economic reality. Develop tiered technology pathways, allow the coexistence of low emission diesel, hybrid, electric, and hydrogen machines tailored to each region's capabilities and infrastructure. Create global trade incentives. Rather than banning diesel exports, offer tax breaks or subsidies to companies that refurbish and export low emission equipment to the developing world. Support parts and service independence. Open access to software, spare parts, and training to empower local machines and local mechanics and reduce reliance on OEMs. Fund innovation in off grid charging and hydrogen solutions. Solar charging trailers, microgrid energy storage, or modular hydrogen pods could bridge infrastructure gaps. Partnerships with local, regional stakeholders. Listen to the governments, contractors, and businesses on the ground. Let them shape the transition, not merely absorb it. The drive toward a clean construction and demolition industry is necessary, but if it's led by the wealthiest for the wealthiest, with consequences exported to the poorest, that's not justice. That is green colonialism. Real sustainability must be global. It must recognize that progress isn't made with mandates and declarations, but with machines in the dirt, steel in the ground, and fuel of some kind in the tank. If we abandon the developing world in our sprint towards zero emissions, we risk building a greener, cleaner, but deeply unequal future. The question is not what kind of machines we build next, but who gets to build with them.